Have you ever experienced a God wink? You know, the kind of experience you know without a shadow of a doubt that God stepped in and gave you a big old wink from heaven. I'm your host, Cyndee Sparre, broadcasting from Office Evolution in Troy, Michigan. I am a firm believer that there is power in sharing God wink stories. Think of it as a way for people to shine their light on Jesus, one wink at a time. In Matthew 5:14, it says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." Welcome back, Godwink listeners, to the Godwink podcast. I'm your host, Cyndee Sparre here. I'm podcasting today from mi casa, from my house. So you're used to seeing me coming out of Office Evolution's podcast studio. We love them so dearly. We have got some out-of-state representation on the podcast today. And listeners, we are focusing in on a series God has brought out of just in a chunk of a week. Homeschooling is the topic of the week. Lots of different people making decisions in a time like this where, hey, school's about to go back into session. And some of them are like, do I want my kids to go back into the public school setting? Or am I going to jump into the deep and have my kids home and helping them through the online school or homeschooling actually process? But I think maybe on one other occasion I've had 3 guests on at a time. So you guys are special. You're round 2 of gathering just a bunch of different perspectives. I have my teenager Jacob's perspective. So Jacob, welcome to the God Wink. 16-year-old. So say a quick hello.
Hi.
Also have Bree Swope on with us. You might have remembered listener Bree was on a previous episode sharing her God wink and financial God wink moment where God showed up and had a whole lot of cash in an envelope. So I encourage you, look up Bree Swope and you'll be able to hear more about that. But Bree is on with us today. And those of you that do not know Bree, she actually comes from being a busy mom of 3 kids, shares a life with a wonderful husband and her energetic dog, who I've personally experienced. He is the cutest thing ever with his little bandana. When she's not out in her garden, you'll find her at church enjoying a good book. She's cooking up new recipes, or she's biking around with the family. Actually, just recently, coming back from Indianapolis for a family vacation, right, Bree?
Yeah, we just got back yesterday.
Fun things with the fam. So she'll share a little bit about her organization to Breaking Bread, which is super inspiring how that ministry is impacting and set forth to impact food pantries and helping people that are in poverty. So welcome, Bree, to the podcast.
Thanks, Cyndee. Glad to be here.
And then last but not least, I wanted to introduce Ashley. So Ashley Carlton is a life skills and confidence mentor for teen girls. She's helping them develop the boundaries, identity, and real world skills they need to step into adulthood and be prepared and confident. With the background in business operations, leadership, and community impact, Ashley's known for her ability to turn practical life skills into powerful, life-changing growth for young women. She's passionate about early empowerment, and Ashley's mission is to help girls find their voice, build self-respect, and become capable, confident young women before the world tells them who they are. Dang. Yeah, I'm sure you have quite the God wink story to tell that brought you to that moment of being used by the Lord, right, Ashley?
Oh yeah, it's been a long time in the making, but it's something that's been stirring in my heart for lots of years, and I'm super excited to be able to just start giving back and providing and helping the girls like I needed when I was younger.
Oh, thank goodness you went through it, so pay it forward and help others, right, in the process.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is too. All the things I learned, I feel obligated that I need to give it back. I need to feed back in and help so that they're farther ahead. And then the way that social media is today, and I don't know that parents always know everything, know what to do. And so being able to have somebody jump in and help is never a waste of time, right?
Absolutely not.
Mhm.
Well, Ashley, would you lead us through your God wink story and what kind of disseminate it from there and how we can relate to what had happened?
Yeah, so with the coaching and my biggest God wink, the first one, I have a couple, but the first one, the biggest, I think, was when I was a teen. I did a lot of action or activity with the church, and I was involved in Girl Scouts, and I did a lot, looked great, but I didn't have the morals and the values and really the God foundation as a teen. And so my innocent little self was going to hanging out with a whole bunch of people who I thought were also innocent. And I got pulled in a lot of directions where I definitely shouldn't have gone, and I shouldn't have given in as easily. And so if I had more of a structure and a foundation then it wouldn't have been as rocky of a journey. And so it did take me a long time to build those skills and develop those habits. And luckily God brought me to my husband who has very strong morals and very strong values. And so I was able to move forward with that. And so the big God wink is when I then became a Girl Scout leader myself and was like, I need to use all of the things that I've learned, all the things that I needed, and start giving back to these girls. And how do I develop a teen coaching program? And how do I, instead of just lecturing to them, it's more of a mentorship and interactive, because I'm not going to be just another teacher lecturing, skills, and they're not going to be able to adopt and really use the skills unless we kind of talk through usage and implementation and stuff. And so I feel like that, even though it was a really rocky and rough journey for me as a teen, you can pull it into being a God wink because of the skills and all of the things that I've developed and learned to be able to give back and to help those girls and show up for them. And so that for me is huge. And then so that was 20 years ago. I was a teen.
What were some rocky journeys that you went through when you were younger?
So it was a lot of I would call it abuse, emotional. There was a lot of men and boys that targeted me, and I didn't have the confidence or I would say foundation to say no. I was worried they wouldn't like me, or that they would be mean to me, or whatever, if I put up any kind of boundaries, because I wasn't as familiar and comfortable with boundaries then. And so I did give in to a lot of that. School grades weren't as good because I wasn't able to focus. I didn't have that confidence there. I just didn't have somebody connecting with me, an older mentor encouraging me and really having those deep conversations with me about things. And so most of it really was. And then even after I ended up going to boarding school. Just because my mom thought I was a troubled teen. So she sent me to a boarding school, and that's where I learned a lot of those values and virtues and boundaries and, self-respect and stuff. And then afterwards, when I was 18, I had to learn about credit and credit cards. I messed up a credit card. I worked a few jobs that I didn't really like because I didn't have somebody really helping me through what jobs would be good to work at. What are my skills? What are my strengths? What am I naturally good at? Like all of these things that even from 16 years old to 22 years old that I was learning, that it would have been, how does your credit score work? How do, you set a budget and work on a budget, all of those things. It really would have been a lot easier for me, and I would have had good friendships. I would have had good relationships, not dated as many guys that weren't good to me, that kind of thing, if I had those foundational skills ahead of time or had somebody helping me through and mentoring me through it.
And there's so many decisions you make. You talk about even with jobs and you're kind of figuring out who you are. It's like an identity situation. Jacob's been going kind of through this whole job piece in the past, 3 months or more, Jacob?
I left around beginning of May at McDonald's, and I've been looking for a solid job ever since.
Yeah. And it's figuring out who you are, though. Like, instead of trying to just do what you think everybody wants you to do or what you think you're supposed to do, it's really slowing down and figuring out who you are, what you like, what kinds of things do you want to do, and finding a place for yourself. Yeah.
That doesn't mean just fast food.
I was a lifeguard first, and then I was a nanny. There are all kinds of potential options. Like, if you want to help organize stuff for people, go organize stuff for people. If you want to help load things. I was a bookkeeper for 10 years. If you want to count numbers and look at numbers and figure out how all that works, you could teach yourself and do any of the things, whatever it is that you're good at. Yeah. Anything.
What's your super skill set, Jacob?
I mean, I kind of found what I really like through door dashing and just like finding items in grocery stores for people and like just delivering to people.
The freedom of it, but still helping people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that.
And he is a genius when it comes to technology.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
So if something broke, my husband said last night while he was fixing the Wi-Fi, he goes, "We're doomed when he leaves this house." It's like
you have to get on video with him later and be like, "This is what it looks like. What button do I push?"
He was fixing the ring, and he's like, "What are we going to do when he leaves?" He's like, "We don't have a clue what we're doing."
Yeah. I remember doing that for my grandma. She'd call me and be like, "My printer's not working," and I'd have to remember like the menu on the screen and say, "Click this button," or pull it up on my own computer and tell. I remember doing that.
And I think that people would be more apt. I mean, I feel like the older generations, like, go to the workforce, go be a bagger, whatever you can do at your age, right? Well, 16 opens up a little bit, and then 18 really opens up. And it's like, are they really finding what they love and what, you know what I mean? Or are they just following suit of what the rest of maybe society tells them to do?
Yeah. What robot am I supposed to jump into, or can I create my own and be my own person? I mean, honestly, Jacob, you could do some kind of technology for older people. Like, who are the people who have companies that are older people where you can easily jump in and be a tech with them, or, you know, be on their IT department or whatever. Like, if that's what you like doing, you grew up in the industry, you know it even more than I do because you've been around it more naturally. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Ashley, you said you had another Godwink story. Was that right?
Yeah. So, do you want me to dig into it?
Sure.
And it's very recent. And so, okay, I was working for Intuit and QuickBooks for 3 years, a while. Made a lot of money there, more than I'd ever made, just because I had part-time jobs before and everything. Nothing was ever really full-time. This was a sales position, so I had commission on top of it. And so I made really good money, and it kind of fit. It was one of those that found me, and I had QuickBooks experience, so I kind of fell into it. And I was good at it, and interacting with accounting firms, which are a different breed of people on their own. But I was good, but I was let go in February. So like suddenly, abruptly let go. It wasn't hey, if this doesn't change, then blah, blah, blah. There wasn't a performance plan. It was just like, hey, this isn't happening. And then the next day I was let go. So it was a shock. It was a huge change for our income with the household. I was working remote, so it wasn't in an office or anything. I was already working from home. And I need a work from home position because to put 3 children in daycare over the summer is about $1,200 a month, at least. So, yeah. So, then we were trying to figure out what my next step was. And I was already working on this coaching and developing the coaching program. So that was what I was going to eventually move into, but it hadn't kicked up yet. With that termination, the bills, like we would get a check-in, a roof claim. We had a hail damage roof claim in 2018. How long ago was that? That was like 8 years ago, right? And we had a hail damage roof claim that I was like, hey, can y'all come inspect it? It's finished. Can y'all come inspect it? It's finished. And nobody was calling me. Nobody was setting up this inspection. And I just kept calling the mortgage company. And then one day we got a check in the mail for $1,600 after I was let go. It was just randomly mailed to us. Nobody said, okay, we give up. We're done trying to get somebody out there. You're good. Nobody, on the letter, it said final payment. And so then I called them and was like, is this for real? And they're like, yeah, we just closed it out after 8 years. And immediately after I was let go, crazy. So they were like, here, pay your bills. You were just let go, right? God just dropped the check in your mailbox. And then other things, like I didn't even realize that I had stock built up at work. And so it was probably like $3,000 in the stock. I don't even know what it was called because I don't know anything about it. And I really expected it to be pulled back out of my account when I was let go. I didn't think they were really giving me money,
Yeah.
I thought it was just like, as long as you work here, this money is yours. But no, it stayed after I was let go. And so then we were able to pull that money out to help with bills. And then my husband's got a business that he started, pressure washing. So we've been able to, so it's just like, and then the schooling stuff over the past few years, I've been like, oh, I just hate that the kids are going through this every day. I hate that this is their story, or I hate that this is how their experience is at school, or I really wish that I had more time to be able to do this with them. And so then we're starting to like, I was like, well, what is homeschooling? And I talked to people at church and they were like, yeah, come visit with us and talk about it. It's really easy. And so then so the homeschooling is where we're going this year coming up. I don't know what work is going to look like for me, but it's just as crazy after being let go, the number of things that have changed since just February this year in our life. It's been 5 months that are really, it makes me feel like I'm not having to fit a mold that's expected of me. I'm just only doing things that feel comfortable in life, which is the most peaceful way to live and the most, comfortable. And my husband and I are on the same page and we're able to like really see where things are guiding. It's just been absolutely crazy.
Have you worked your whole career? Like, is this odd for you to be like, oh,
yeah, I mean, like I've always worked and I just can't stop myself from working, but like I've had part-time stuff here and there and I feel like I need to financially contribute, and because I can do something. I don't know what it is, but and coaching is going to grow and grow and grow. And so, yeah, it's just been absolute shocker, but crazy cool.
So then it's so crazy. And I look at Bree's face as you're talking about these unexpected checks in the mail. We're going to have listeners that haven't listened to your episode, Bree. Can you give us a shortened version of your check in the mail kind of situation?
Basically, my husband was suddenly let go, get our next paycheck, meal, anything. And I leaned into the Lord in a huge way. Trusted in him every step of the way. And for December, we basically up until then had every time he would do like a side job or something, it would be the exact amount of money that we needed for a bill that was due. We had the community giving to us. I met Cyndee through that. And she had told me about a prayer board that she had. So I decided to make a prayer board for my family. And right around Thanksgiving, I told my husband, we need $5,000 for the month of December to pay all of our bills. And that's the mortgage and everything. That's not including Christmas. That's just to be able to stay in our home and feed our kids bare minimum. And he said, well, that's not going to happen. I don't know how that's going to happen. That's impossible. And I said, well, I put it on the prayer board, so we'll see. And December 1st, someone at church gave him an envelope with $5,000 in cash in it and told him to open it up later, and gave him this envelope at the end of service. He was putting his coat on. And I stayed at church to help decorate for the Christmas decorations with my youngest son, Tobin, and who was 5 or 6 at the time. And my husband called me and was like, did you see that I got an envelope before I left church? And I said, yeah, I think someone handed you something, did they? And he said, yeah. He goes, there was money in the envelope. And I said, what? I go, okay. And I was expecting maybe a couple $100. A couple of people from church had helped us over the course of the few months. And he said, guess how much money is in the envelope? And I said, don't make me guess. I was like, just tell me, like, what is it? And he goes, what's on your prayer board right now? And I said, and he goes, how much did we need for the month of December? And my eyes bugged out of my head. And I said, $5,000. And he goes, there's $5,000 in cash in this envelope in $100 bills. And I can't even express to you the feelings that were happening. I mean, I burst into tears, number one, but what really hit me was my oldest son, who's 13 now, who's really struggling with his faith and really, really smart and on the spectrum and he has to see, feel, touch things to think it's real. So he's really struggling. He has for a while. And he was probably even more so like, this isn't going to happen. Your prayer board doesn't work, Mom. It's make believe. He's in the background yelling, there's $5,000 in this envelope. I counted it twice. Your prayer board actually worked. And I'm crying and I'm thinking, what kind of testament to my son, right? Like, this didn't just happen because bad things sometimes happen. This was all orchestrated by the Lord for my whole family to get shaken up, to trust in him, to see miracles throughout this whole 4 months. It was 4 short months. It felt like forever.
Yeah.
And then praying for my husband, Don, to get a job before Christmas. And my son still, even after the $5,000, was like, that's not going to happen. And I mean, my husband had been applying, everywhere. He's a software developer. He's very, very smart. It's nearly impossible to not find a job in his field. And he was not finding anything. And he got a job offer on December 24th. And my son was like,
yeah.
and I seeing miracles through my kids' eyes, the wonder of those kinds of things happening. And it reaffirmed my faith tenfold. It was just amazing to see. Yes. And everything you're going through, literally, I'm like, yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I
love it.
Yeah, it's encouraging though that both of you are taking steps towards your family, and at the same time though, God is blessing you and giving you vision, right, for your organizations. And we don't always know exactly the timing or how the pace is going to launch. We're just kind of, I like my husband always telling me, Cyndee, it's just one day at a time, because that's what he keeps telling himself. He's like, so that I don't get overwhelmed, I take one day at a time. And I think you should do the same, just one step. I wanted to pass the baton to Jacob with this next question. So, all right, you ready, Jacob?
Yeah.
All right. So today you're growing up in a world unlike other previous generations. You don't know it yet, but it is quite different. What do you believe is the biggest spiritual, emotional, and cultural challenges that you're facing in school?
Probably like people's like identity in themselves, and like deciding who they are and what they want to be, what they want to believe in. And like my friends are always asking me like, what do you believe? And like they even asked me like, how do you seem so like hopeful all the time, even when like my friends would leave me from school, my other friends would be like, how are you dealing with this? And I'm like, I just know that God's going to bring someone else that I will enjoy hanging out with as well. And I think it's just important for my generation to seek the right people, like God and the church and all of that, rather than going what social media says and all of that.
Can you share with us a little bit of even the work you've done with written pieces? Like, haven't you kind of expressed your belief, your Christian faith slightly in things that you've written for school projects?
Yeah, a little bit. The most I can remember is about like, I recently did like a Greek mythology project, and one of the questions that we had to answer in our slideshow was, what do you believe about it and all of that. And so I told them, I just said like, I don't really understand why we have to learn it, because it's a religion in my opinion. And to all the other people that are having different religions or people that are Christ-centered, like, I didn't really think it was fair that Greek mythology got the hand up in school and it's like a requirement to learn.
And have you ever gotten pushback from like teachers or any of that based upon sharing that information?
I mean, students probably gave me faces, but I didn't really pay attention. But it was mostly about like teachers denying things, like it's not really that big of a deal. It's not going to compromise what you believe in. And I'm like, well, then I don't really understand why you're teaching it if people are feeling this way. And I just think that it's weird how teachers, like, even they're like the age of you guys and they believe things that even my culture believes sometimes. So I just thought it was kind of sad how even like my teachers are leading some students in the wrong direction.
Yeah, that reminds me of something I saw the other day that was like, it said that bullying still happens in adulthood too. It just looks different. It's not people making fun of each other. It's, the comments that make you question, or, the things that somebody does that they act like is the best thing in the world. And that's how exactly you should be. So like, there's still bullying and there's still all of that as an adult too, but it just looks different than it does as a teen.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Bree and I were kind of talking about two of the phases of relationships, like where someone, when you were maybe in elementary, might have been like a really, really close friend, best friend. And then as you're finding yourselves going through all the hormones and everything else, Bree gave an example of someone where by the time she was graduating, it was like they saw each other and they're like, hey, you guys see your, what was it? You guys seen your picture? Is that what you said, Bree?
Yeah.
Like
we exchanged a senior picture. That was that.
Very, very different.
I had a conversation with my 11-year-old the other day, because even after school has gotten out, there are girls that she wants to talk to still and text and, have her friends. And I was telling her, I just don't know that I want you to talk to the girls. And she's like, what? Why? And I said, I don't think that they're bad people at all. They may be totally different kids when they're a junior in high school or when they're 25 years old. But right now they have different information than I don't know what information they have. I don't know what they're going to bring to you. I don't know how they're going to treat you. I don't know what they think is true and what's not true. And I want to make sure that you have the accurate definition of things and that they don't bring information to you that's not true. And not saying that I don't want you ever hanging out with them, but I don't know that I want you to like text them right now or call them right now. It's just making sure that you're strong and you're secure and you're centered in yourself and who you are and what you know is right. Because there were things that people said to her recently that were not true at all, but the other kids didn't have that understanding of that. But for her, she was like, no, because she and I talk about stuff, and she's like, that's absolutely not true. And I'm able to have that relationship with her, but I just don't know what these other kids have the background of. I don't know what information they're picking up off of social media, because they have Facebook, they have Snapchat. And so they're on these apps, and they don't have discernment at that age on what do I allow in and what do I block, what's right, what's not right. And so all of that exposure is so difficult to navigate in this world, especially at that age when, like, at 16, you have more of a foundation and you've been through enough where you kind of know what to block and what not to block more than you do at 11. And so it's so hard. It is such a hard age.
Yeah, I love hearing about the whole keeping an open dialogue too. With your kids is just really important. Jacob had shared with me, and I think I overheard. I think you were talking to one of your friends, Jacob, about, hey, it's so expensive to live on your own, to have an apartment. When we graduate, they were like planning, how about we get an apartment together? Do you care to share that piece of what you kind of said as a response?
I mean, it was a while ago. I don't remember a whole lot, but I remember saying, like, we kind of got to move on. You can't really plan that far ahead. Just take one step at a time, because I don't, even being friends and all of that, you don't really move in together,
It was a girl too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And like, you don't know where she's coming from. Like, she has good intentions, and she's a kind of person. And, not everybody you meet in life is going to be perfect all the way around and completely well-rounded, and you believe and do everything that they say. But everybody has great parts to them, and some will help you in different ways, and then some you'll be able to help them. I was talking to a friend of mine recently she's like, I don't know. I feel bad because I don't want her like watching my kid all the time because she's got this going on and this, and I'm not sure that she's but we're great to go to the playground and let the kids meet up and hang out together. And it was something that somebody had said to me, not everybody is the absolute perfect person, but they're all great for different areas. One's great for going out to lunch. One's great for going and watching movies with. One's great for getting the kids together. So just like you're saying, Jacob, like, just because that friend made that recommendation or said, hey, we should do that, doesn't mean that, oh, nope, not hanging out with them anymore because they think this is okay. But, they still have great parts to them. There's just different strengths in different people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Bree, do you care to share a little bit about what brought you into even considering having your kids do homeschooling and pulling them out of public schools? Take us down that.
Yeah. So my oldest, Asher, is really, really intelligent, super good in school, advanced classes, no issues academically at all. But also on the spectrum, very introverted and gets bullied relentlessly ever since early elementary school. And he's going into 8th grade this fall. And back in, I think, 5th grade, 6th grade, he started asking me, like, what would it look like maybe if I just went to online school at home? And I was very much like, I can't do homeschool. I'm not nearly, mentally, emotionally, or academically prepared to be able to teach my kids, right? They don't want to learn from me. I'm ADHD. They're ADHD. We're just a big mess of a household. And I was like, right. And I was like, that's just going to be a hot mess explosion. Yes. And so I said, I don't know, we'll see, but the bullying kept getting worse. He would come home crying. He would be like, I can't take it anymore. The school wasn't doing anything about it. And it was it was finally his sister, who our district made some big changes last year. My daughter was in 5th grade this past school year here, and they moved the 5th graders to the middle school, and they were no longer elementary. They were now middle school, and they were being treated like middle schoolers, but they were still 9 and 10 years old. And it caused a tremendous amount of difficulties with parents, students, academics, emotional, social, across the board, all the 5th grade. And they just weren't listening to parents. My daughter started getting bullied by older girls. There was the topics of discussion and the things that now she had access to was completely different, and not something that we allow her access to in our home. She doesn't have social media. She doesn't have a cell phone. That it was like opening up this whole new world. And on top of it was the influences that all of a sudden she started, oh, well, so-and-so won't like me if I don't, whatever. And she started to withdraw a little bit. Then she was starting to get talked about behind her back and bullied and whatnot. And so then all of a sudden at the same time, my son is asking me to do online school. And my daughter is like, do I have to go to school anymore? I hate it there. I'm miserable. And all of a sudden, what I thought originally I couldn't do, the Lord was really, really leaning, speaking to me, and it was laying on my heart for months that I maybe need to consider homeschool. And fortunately, we have a lot of other families who also are homeschooling this coming fall, some of which that she knows, for the same reasons, pulling them out of the district. So early May, I pulled both my 2 older kids out of the school district a month early to start the deschooling process. And both of them on their last day, especially my older son, gave a visible deep sigh of relief and release and said, I'm so glad I never have to go back there if I don't want to. And I feel like they are both 2 completely different kids now. They are more joyful. They're happier. You could just see the weight lifted off. I'm going to finally be able to teach my daughter, who is not academically strong at all, because she's so far behind because of her ADHD. Her brain has to get information in a certain way in order for her to process it. And that's something that the school just didn't have the capabilities to really be able to do. And so I can really focus on getting her caught up. And also with all the curriculum that I've purchased for each of them, it's very going to be based on what they need and teaching them in a way that they can learn. So it's very different for both of them. And I'm actually excited because I've been told that I can learn alongside my kids. And so I'm very similar to my daughter. So I'm actually excited because I'm going to maybe learn how to do math, and I'm going to learn all the things that I struggled with. I'm going to be learning alongside her so that I can teach her. And because we are so like-minded, I think it's going to work out really nicely. And so, yeah, it definitely stemmed from, I knew that God is not present in the public schools right now. And if I wanted my kids to ever have a relationship with the Lord, it's just not enough going to church. They need to have more than that. And I need to be able to be present and spend more time with them. And in order to do that, I really need to school them at home.
So I'm going to ask a controversial question.
Yeah.
I would say devil's advocate, but I'm the Godwink podcast. Like, that's a terrible phrase. I remember a time when Jacob was at McDonald's, and he told me that all the staff were talking about how all their parents are divorced. and the story is gonna lead into my question. Is they were like, yeah, all parents are divorced, and they're like, I don't know. And Jacob, they said, I don't think Jacobs are. Is that right? Does that sound right? Am I saying it right? And he's like, what? They're like, your parents are still together, aren't they? And he's like, yeah, aren't yours? And you're like, nah, none of ours. They're all divorced. And so Jacob we used to say to him, like, Jacob, why don't you go work for Chick-fil-A? Why don't you work with McDonald's? You could go to Chick-fil-A. And we've heard great things about him. And he's like, how's my light going to shine at Chick-fil-A? The McDonald's people need a light. Like, I think God's called me to stick here and be a light. Well, my controversial question is, if we're removing our kids, and I don't have one side or the other, if we remove our kids from the public schools, is our light still going to shine? Who wants to take that?
I could jump on that one. I feel like being in the public school right now, the kids are less likely to influence other children. They're more influenced by their parents at this point. I think at an older age, because I'm still open to potentially putting them back in for high school if it makes sense. And the biggest thing for me is just how influential they are right now in this age. Mine are 7, 9, and 11. And so it's not going to change the trajectory of their entire lives for my kids to implement God and foundations and groundwork at 9 years old. They can still at 17, 16 years old, like Jacob's doing, plant those seeds where they have that foundation, they have that groundwork, and they have they're less influential. Like Jacob's less influential than my 7, 9, and 11-year-old are. And so I think that at the later years, once you have that core value in there, then you're able to really influence others more. And so that's my perspective, at least, on it, I think.
I appreciate I
agree.
That. Yeah. Well, Jacob, if you had a choice, and I asked you the question today, you could either go back to school or you could do school from home. What would you choose and why?
I still think that I would stay at home because I'm already going to be doing half of my classes online with Macomb Community College, and aside from my biology class. But I just feel like I'm mostly going there just for exploratories that I don't even need to take to graduate or use in my career. So it's kind of pointless for me to go and waste gas and all of that just to learn some exploratories I probably won't need.
There have been a lot of things that have come up for me since exploring this homeschooling thing. And it really, honestly, like, school is set as a babysitter for our kids during the day while we're working, 8 to 5 jobs. And so I really feel like a lot of the stuff they do is just filling time. And like Jacob just said, like, my kids aren't honestly there for the learning and picking up new things. Like, my 11-year-old doesn't have great handwriting. Nobody has sat there and helped her figure out her penmanship and do handwriting. She hasn't learned cursive. There's some math stuff that she was struggling with in 5th grade, and she's never struggled with math. And so there are a lot of things, like hers is middle school, like you were saying, Bree, and 5th grade and 6th grade are middle school. But there's just so many things that she was exposed to that brought stress and pressure to her. And honestly, like, having a 7-hour school day, we've tested our homeschooling some because I needed to know if this was going to work before, registration for school came. Like, if I can do the homeschooling, if it is doable, if it's too much, because I have 3 kids, I'm doing all 3. We're not going, halfway in. But our schooling takes 2 or 3 hours for all 3 kids. It's 2 or 3 hours out of the day of doing their language arts and their math. And then we also have, like, citizenship as a requirement in Texas too. And so it really takes 2 or 3 hours out of the day. And then we have the rest of the day to learn how to cook things. We can do handwriting. I bought handwriting books to help them with their handwriting, and I can sit there and do it with them. We can learn about we could do our devotionals. We can do our learning on geography and, dinosaurs, or watch science videos and do science stuff and really dig into other things and do projects together and whatever else we need to do in the day, or whatever else we want to do in the day. And to be quite honest, my kids are not overstimulated by all the children that they're around all day. They're not set into a group of just think of a group of animals running around all over the place. And where do you focus? How do you become a very developed child where you're thinking through things and you're, processing and you're rational about stuff when you have all that chaos around you all day? My kids are able to really build bonds with each other by being around each other and figure out how to interact with others. And, the world doesn't revolve around you because there's other people around you. And so they're really able to spend the time learning there. And we're doing little garden. We have little planters with tomatoes and strawberries and cucumbers where they're checking on the growth of the plants. And when would I ever have time to do these things with my kids when we have a whole hour of drop off in the morning and 2 to 3 hours of pickup in the evening because we're at multiple schools, and then driving home after? And then they have their school activities because I need to be a good parent and get them involved in sports to keep them active and, all of develop their skills and develop their interests outside of school. And so we don't have any time, and they don't have the brain capacity to learn from me also and do the things that school doesn't do whenever they're so overstimulated and tired from a school day. And then when I have them on a weekend, they still are just recovering from the week before, that we still don't have the time to dig into, let's make sure your handwriting's good. Let me make sure you can read the sign that's on my wall in cursive, because you don't know cursive. There's a sign. They don't even know the words on the sign because it's in cursive. And so I don't have the ability to do that with them though when they're in school and they're so stressed out from all the things that it's just this homeschooling. There's so many programs available now that there are curriculums you can purchase, and they tell you what to say to the kid. They say, read the part in blue out loud to your child, for my second grader. And so it's so doable, and it's so easy and so less stressful because you're not meeting the standards of school. You're not having to put pressure on your kid for being the good kid or doing the right thing, or we have to make sure you have this and we have to make sure you do this, and, truancy and all of that. It's just such a more easygoing life. And then you build that internal value system for, taking care of the house. My house is always a mess because we're always doing stuff. We're always gone. We're always hurrying around and rushing to this, and hurry up and get in bed so that you can wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. But now part of their day is taking care of their stuff and cleaning up, and mom not doing anything.
I gotta know, do they have stewardship over the garden?
They all have their
out. She has a garden where
not a very big garden. It's very small, so it doesn't take a lot of work. But feeding the dogs and bathing the dogs and, dishes. Everybody has their own dishes and the laundry. And so, and the homeschooling programs are built, a lot of them, they're structured for you to only do 4 days a week, if your family only has that ability. So you have that requirement. It's the most peaceful and reassuring thing I've ever experienced. And it's just crazy because you've never thought. We're so used to being in school. We're so used to having to have these standards. We're so used to having to, answer to this, that it's so easy. The kids just need to learn the stuff to be successful in life. They just need to learn the math and the English. They don't have to learn how to be a robot and, raise their hand at the right time and ask to go to the bathroom, or, be taught how to be good enough. My kids are very outspoken. They're very strong-willed children. They're not the ones to get the certificate saying you were the most respectful child this year or this month. They don't do that. That's not my kids at all. And they get in so much trouble because they're done with their work so quickly, and they're having to wait for the other kids, and they get antsy. And then my middle, he's just not interested. And so the teacher has so many other kids in school too, in the class too, that she doesn't have the ability to focus on him more and encourage him or sit down and, whatever with him, because he just wants to be running around on the soccer field, so me being able to help him the way he needs, like you were saying, Bree, is a game changer. So we've been doing it over the summer, and we've tried it over the summer, and it's been amazing. It's been hard. I mean, stressful for me to like get on everybody and all that, but it'll find its way. The kids need to get used to the new system and the new rhythms, and
don't give up. Don't give up. Well, I can't believe how quick the time went by, and I wanted to make sure to plug each of your organizations real quick before we start closing out. But Bree, could you kind of take us through what's launching soon for yours, or what God has put on your heart that you're working towards?
Outside of homeschooling my kids, my business kind of has taken a slight back burner position while I'm trying to figure this out. But I fully intend on, once I kind of get my rhythm again with this, my business has not stopped, but I launched Breaking Bread at the beginning of 2025, which is in direct, I guess, from my experience with unemployment and being able to find our next meal for my family. So my business platform is basically, I find business owners, sponsors who are willing to pay for manna meal tickets to be created. And then I find a local food pantry to distribute them, and a local coffee house, pizza shop, food establishment to be able to honor those tickets. And someone can bring it in for a piece of pizza or whatever it is on the ticket. So that's just a little way that I can try and help nourish people. And while letting them know that, God loves them, and kind of just imparting that little bit of help and dignity to them. So over the summer, I think you were saying, Cyndee, before, people don't do a lot over the summer. It's sort of, I think, downtime for a lot of businesses. So this coming fall, I'm going to be boots on the ground, back at it, trying to get businesses to be sponsors.
That's so cool. I love that.
Thank you.
It's huge.
Well, Ashley, share a little bit about your coaching.
Yeah, and we talked about it a little already. I do have masterclass every month on self-identity and boundaries. So Jacob, you saying that self-identity is huge for your age is exactly what that's for, to kind of build that strength in God and that identity in who God has made you to be. Because you do have social media and teachers and parents and aunts and uncles and friends telling you who you should be and who your identity is supposed to be. And really the only thing that doesn't change after you graduate is your identity in God and who he's made you to be. So it'll change and develop as you grow with your skills and, your different seasons of life, but that's huge. So being able to help the teens figure that out and have that foundation is my biggest goal. So we have the masterclass, and then there's a direct individual one-on-one coaching program as well. It's a 12-week, because there's 6 different topics, 6 different aspects of the foundational skills. And so we kind of spread those out over 2-week time so we can really talk through individually with each girl. So it's awesome. I love it. And I just want to be able to help and reach everybody I can as one person.
I love it. Well, I want to ask each of you, and Jacob, this question is going to come around to you too. I always like to know a resonating Bible scripture that God's placed on your heart. I'll let Jacob go last so he can think that one through. Bree, would you be willing to share yours?
Yeah, I would say lately, especially, it's Isaiah 60:22, the latter part. It's at the right time, I, the Lord, will make it happen. I think that he's teaching me patience through basically every single aspect of my life. And so I feel like, patience is definitely not my strong suit. And so he's on the daily, I feel like. And so that is definitely a verse that, it will happen in time. He will make it happen.
I love that. What about you, Ashley?
My favorite is Ephesians 2:10. It says, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." And so that one's huge for me because it's that reassurance of, instead of you taking on the pressure trying to figure out what to do, it's already been, planned ahead of time. Just be patient, just be open, and go the path that was developed for you. And that encouragement too, that we are God's handiwork. That's that positive encouragement that we were created for good works, to do good things. That's that reassuring promise as well. So that one just hit in so many different ways for me. I love that one.
Oh, I do. That's beautiful. All right, Jacob, you got one?
Yes.
I don't have the exact verse that it's from, but I remember hearing it from different songs in church and stuff. I believe it says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind." And I've just been resonating with that because it's just I really noticed that I need to have God more on my mind throughout the day, and not just when I'm at church or when I'm at some Christian event, but just to have him around even in dark places. That's what helps shine your light.
Like when you're door dashing. I'm running the line. Move your car. Oh my goodness. Well, listeners, want you to know that we will have in the show notes ways that you can connect with Bree and Ashley. So if you are interested in hearing more about Breaking Bread, you'd like to learn more about Ashley's coaching for teens, please check out the show notes so that you can get connected there and learn more about their organizations. Other than that, my guys listening in, that closes out our God winks, I should say, today. If you have a God wink yourself, we would love to hear about it. We have an easy way that you can share your God wink stories through the godwinkpodcast.com. So please click within the show notes if you do have a story, or if today's episode resonates with you. I always encourage our listeners to share it. Maybe you know of somebody that's considering homeschooling. Maybe you know of somebody that has a team that could use some support and some resources. Or maybe you would like to be a person that contributes to Breaking Bread and really helping give dignity back to those that are going through poverty. There are so many food pantries out there that could use these man and meal tickets to hand out. So I encourage you to connect with Bree on that. So without further ado, guys, thanks so much for listening in on today's God Wink. God bless.
I want to give a big thank you to Office Evolution Troy for providing their podcast studio for us this afternoon to record. If you have any questions or you would like to book your own time in their podcast studio, give them a call at 586-788-9966. If today's God Wink story really hit home with you, we would love to hear about it through the God Wink community on Facebook. If you know of someone that needs to hear today's God Wink story, show them some love and tag them on the God Wink podcast. You never know how a God Wink story might change their day around for the better. If you or someone you know has a God Wink story that the world needs to hear, we want to hear it. Simply click the link within the podcast notes to send in your God Wink story. Until next time, remember, God's got you. Wink, wink.